Morning. All right. Morning, folks. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about camera angles so you're not cut off. Not quite. Actually, we're going to talk about the shaper and sander this morning. What we have here is one of our sanding stations. And these things here are fantastic. What we have is a belt sander. This is going to rotate downwards towards the table. And then on this end, you can see here we have a disc sander. This rotates 360 degrees and is basically a big sanding pad on a spinning disc. And it's great for helping shape our work. And we're going to use this today, and we're going to use this as well. We're going to talk about some of the general safety with this stuff beforehand. These guys here, it is a rotating tool. So we have we don't want any things. What we can do here is we can pull up participants, select junior, and let's go mute. Actually, let's go mute all. Let's make it easy. Okay, there we go. Let's tuck this away here. Okay, so obviously Junior is away from the computer at the moment and wasn't able to mute himself. But let's start over. Let's try this again. So we got these sanders here. Sanding station. Love these guys. Very useful. What we have here is a belt sander, and it's going to rotate downwards towards the table, and it will remove material off whatever you like. It's not fingers, hopefully. It will do that, and it will do it in a hurry, so don't get your fingers in there. Here we have a sanding disc on the end of this rotating plate. We just take this on and we sand on the downward side of the blade. That is quite important. But before we talk about the tool, let's talk some safety. PPE for this particular tool. This one. Anybody, if you have long hair, not just ladies, gentlemen have long hair too. And it doesn't even have to be real long hair. If you have some hair that's hanging down in your face and you're working right here, it's actually going to be quite close to this rotating belt. I had a student last year. I tried to talk to him numerous times, and eventually I just had to give him some heck because he's getting real close to the hair, and he has longer hair, and it kind of hangs down into his face. And he's in 20 level this year. Still has the same hair. I hope he's going to take that safety into consideration going forward, because we really don't want anything, especially hair, stuck in here. Sleeves, any loose clothing, let's get that out of the way like normal. I get my sleeves, I tuck them up, I roll them away, and that way they're not anywhere near the rotating equipment. A very simple operation for these, a very straightforward tool. With these, we have our green for go, or our green for go, and our red for stop, right? It is one motor that powers both of these tools. So we have an electric motor here, and it has an output shaft on either end. And the shaft has been adapted to either turn a rotating drum, which then turns this, or on this end it has a hub on it with a plate, and then we have the sanding pad on here. So one motor does two different things. Given the fact that it is driven by one motor, I only like having one person work on it at a time. If you have two people working on it, one working here, one working here, we could really put some unnecessary stress and load on the motor, and it could contribute to a shorter lifespan of it. These are really handy tools, and would be just crappy if one went down in our shop. So we want to keep both these running. We want to keep them running well. So we're gonna just run one person at a time on. I do have two of these. I've got one here and I have one here. With these tools, there are some signs that you may not be able to see, but what I like about these is this stuff right here. So a little sign right there that says rotation. That is going to tell you which direction that's going to spin before you turn it on. That is an important thing because this should always turn down, but sometimes these will rotate in a different direction. You may think that it's going to rotate downwards, and it actually may rotate backwards. Now that isn't going to be a super big deal, but if this is rotating in the direction it's against the clock, and you place your material on the right side of the table, and you push in, it's going to rotate around and slam that material down. That isn't something we want to have happen. It's scary. You can push your fingers, get them in the way, potentially touch the standing disc. So with that, I always look for that rotation sign first, just to let me know which side I'm going to start on. And if I can't find it, I will turn it on without having anything up against any of the standing pads, and I will watch the direction and watch which way it spins. So that helps me with that respect. These sanding pads, they do wear out. They do get worn. It does happen, especially if we're working with wood with a lot of, say, sap or pitch, or even just a really hard chunk of wood that we're kind of burning down the disc with. So what can happen is those discs can clog just slightly. So we need to perform some disc maintenance. And there's a tool that I've got. It's on the other side of the classroom. I'm going to grab it. I'll show you that and show you how it works. What I have here, folks, is a giant eraser. Honestly, that's pretty much all it is. It's a natural gum rubber. It hasn't been processed too much. It's very dense. And what this does is it basically helps clean out the grits in between, or clean out in between the grits on the sanding disc and the sanding belt. We wear this down, and we literally just stick this up against the sanding belt, run it side to side, and it will help us clean that belt. When we do that, though, we don't just stick it randomly in the middle of the belt. What we're going to do is we hold it against the table. If we were to jam it in here, and this is rotating, it's going to slam down, and that could be a potential injury that we don't need to have in here. So what I've been doing is every now and then I'll clean across this, and we can work this back and forth across here, clean it up. You may notice that the color of the disc is going to change because we're going to take a lot of that sawdust and stuff out. What I'm going to do before I do that, though, is I'm going to turn the dust collector on. Whenever we're using these, we want to have the dust collector on because we are going to create a whole bunch of dust. And we don't want that dust inside the machine, getting jammed up in the corners, and eventually will dust build up because it's going to be a really, really fine particulate. It could eventually lead to a fire because we have fine particulate, we have friction, we have rotating parts. We've got a lot of the ingredients we need for combustion. So what we like to do is get that dust out of there, and we just turn the dust collector on for that. And every now and then when we change a belt, we'll open this right up, clean it out, make sure it's all good to go, and then reassemble it. So let's turn that dust collector on. Hopefully it's not too noisy. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to run the cleaner across these blades and get it looking good for you. And then we will start talking about shaping our wood. So with that, you should be able to see the difference now. We've got a clean half and a half that isn't quite as clean. This here, I've simply removed the bits of sawdust from between the grit. Here, I've not touched it yet. So that kind of outlines what this little block does. As you can see, we've taken the edge off the block a bit here. Nothing major, but the benefits of this far outweigh, the cost. We are just going to burn this up and eventually get it down to a little nub, and toss it out, get another one. This does last a long time though, and it works well for any type of sanding situation. Even the thickness sander we talked about the other day, the one that we used for prepping the panels, it has 2 rollers inside, and this is perfectly fine to use on those rollers as well. That's something I would do. I'm not going to allow you guys to open up and work on the inside of that machine, especially while it's rotating. But just be aware that these little sanding blocks, or these disc cleaners, they are absolutely fantastic. They do exist, and they will extend the life of your belts and your discs and any sandpaper that you have. So let's finish this up, and then we'll start shaping some of the pieces. We've got both these tables fairly clean. One thing I do want to do though, I want to brush all the stuff off the table here. So when I'm working on the table, I want to keep it quite flat here. I don't want to build up rubber dust here. So we're going to brush that off right quick. All right, let's talk about shaping. Pieces like this, the one we cut out yesterday, did a fairly decent job. I think I did. I intentionally left a bad section here, as this is kind of outline how quickly this can be taken down. With these, we need to hold our pieces flat on the table. So if we're working with a bigger piece like this, we want to keep this flat against here. We don't want it up, because if we do, it's going to stand on an angle firstly, and then the grit of this paper is going to grab this wood and slam it downwards. And if you're holding your fingers, say, under it when that happens, you might be a sad puppy there for a little moment or two. That would not be comfortable. With these sanding and shaping stations, they're great for sanding outside curves. So this big curve and radius here, we can definitely do. We can radius this corner and this one. This we can take care of, but it's going to be really hard to sand the inside of this curve with this machine. So there's another machine that I've got that we're going to talk about in a few minutes that's going to take care of those for us. But let's start sanding the outside of this. We're going to move our material back and forth across this fairly quick. It does sand fairly fast. And if you have, or if you hold it in one place, what it's going to do is it's going to burn your material. And we don't want that. So we want to rotate this back and forth nice and easy, and it will remove that material for us. We want to work our way across the entire sanding disc from edge to edge. We don't want to just burn out a little spot in the middle and wear it out. That can eventually tear. If you wear this one out, the spoke is separated into two, tear, bits could go flying, and all sorts of bad can happen. But what we're going to do here is we are going to fire it up. We're going to sand down to the line on this bad section here that I showed you guys. We're going to round off some front corners, and we'll show you the results. So just like that, we've got that down to where we want it. We're going to quickly run across the rest of this and make it nice. So what we've done, we've rounded off those top corners, that's the sawdust up there. So we've got those down to the line. Those are quite nice. Followed that, we sanded just down to the line the whole way. It's nice and smooth. No rough edges. We are looking pretty good with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly sand up one of the legs. Let's see, you can see an example of that. And we're going to move to the orbital spindle sander. I always have trouble saying that. Orbital spindle sander. And that's going to help us sand the inside curves. We're going to talk about that in just a minute after we take care of one of the seat legs, D. So it's a fairly fast and efficient tool. We've taken care of this edge, flattened up this foot, rounded this little corner over just slightly, as well as this one. And I've made sure all my flat surfaces on the front are truly flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you with me over to the next tool, which is the orbital spindle sander. And we're going to work on some inside curves. So let's take a bit of a walk. I head over to a tool that I've got hidden behind the whiteboard. And we'll see if we can get you guys a good shot of it. Behind those is the orbital spindle sander. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that one. So it is the exact opposite of the centers and shapers. Centers and shapers only cut the outsides. These ones will cut the insides. On this. But we can actually cut the cabbage into our material. Smaller spindle, the faster is going to rotate, right? The other side is going to rotate slower. As we get it's going to rotate faster. Just the way it works. With this, what I always try and do as we practice, if I try and use the biggest spindle I can that fits inside the curve, I'm going to cut. Now these ones are fairly big curves. I'm not going to put a 36-inch spindle on here simply because this machine can handle it. We don't have one, and I don't even believe they exist for a machine like this anyways. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece, we're going to turn it on, and it should, if I remember correctly, it should rotate counterclockwise as well. When we are working with this, it's going to put force basically on our wood. It's going to want to move it to the right side here. It's going to want to pull just because the way this rotates. So we need to put pressure against the spindle sander, and we need to hold our piece firmly on the table. Otherwise, it's going to take a bit of a ride. It could end up somewhere on the other side of the classroom. We don't want that to happen. So we are going to take our pieces. We're going to set them on here. Once again, this is a very easy tool to use. We got our start and our stop. We'll start it up. You guys can see it. So it moves up and down. That's to prevent excessive wear on a single spot of the sanding disc. Because really, if you think of it, let's say one spot in the spun, we can wear that section out of that sanding disc very quickly. And then we can actually take this apart, flip the spindle, and fold it down, and then we have another section. But then we're just going to wear out those ends really fast and kind of have a big disc that we use to stuck in the middle. This way, we actually use a lot more of the sandpaper, and it just stops it all from wearing out too fast. So, fairly quiet tool, very easy tool to use. We're going to use it to shape this inside here, the inside of the armrest. And we'll let it go, and we'll see how it turns out. So we're going to lay it flat against the table. We're just going to slightly slide our piece along. Just standing down for a line. Try not to stand too deep. So with this one, I'm about to say it is very important that you pay attention to the line here. If we stand, it is very easy to stand too deep too fast. So with this, we just have to be careful and really watch what we're doing. So just like that, we have that inside curve nicely sanded and just ready for a bit of finish sanding, and that is that. And this piece we sand on all edges, so this will be pretty much complete. There are a few more steps for this, but we're going to talk about those another day. What we're going to do is, well, I'm going to sand the inside of this one, but I'm going to grab a scrap piece, intentionally mess it up, so you guys can see just how fast this thing can give you trouble in a hurry. So what I've got here is just a little chunk of the same material. It was a 1x6. We cut that scrap off yesterday when we were, yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. When we were cutting out either the leg or the armrest. And we're just going to use this. One thing you will notice is sawdust does build up on this table. It is hooked up to the dust collector, but it's not a perfect system, and sometimes we do have dust buildup, so we need to just be aware of that. We'll clean it up as we go. So with this, it is quite easy to take a nice round curve and really mess it up with just by not paying attention. So we're going to see, let's show you a bit of an example of what that could look like if you guys are working on something like this. I'm going to hold this in this hand with this back end being sanded, so I've got a good grip on it. I'm not going to get my hands too close to this. I'm going to keep them fair ways away, but let's get that happening. So in just those couple moments, I turned this into something that definitely is not flat. It's got bumps all over it. I see this all the time when students are trying to stand nice and straight. What they do is they work in one area and one area only, and it cuts a divot in there, and it definitely does not look as good as it could. As, yeah, I guess you see that a little bit more contrast now. But yeah, we got a big wave here, wave here, wave here. Kind of be a good little hill for snowboarding or something like that. You got a couple little pumps you could do on there, but when it comes to woodworking, not really what we want. So what we're going to do, we're going to quickly finish this piece up, get that straightened up, and I think that'll be about it for today, guys. So I'm sure beats doing it by hand. This is nice and smooth, fairly good. There's one little spot I didn't quite get to my line. I'm not too concerned though. This inside curve here is great. We use the shaper to get the outside curves. overall, we have got a pretty darn nice looking product. So that is going to be it for today's video. I wanted to show you guys those two tools. Tomorrow, we are going to transcribe some info from the template to these. Like, we're going to talk about why it's important, how we do it, and how to keep ourselves on track, or how to keep things organized while doing it, because we're making a bunch of pairs of things and it can be difficult. So I'll give you guys some tips that I use to help keep you guys organized. If that works out well, we should start flying on the rest of the chair and get this thing happening. Friday marks 2 weeks till Christmas. I'm flying crazy. It doesn't seem like it was so warm out, but I need to keep a certain pace to keep everybody on task and on track. And plus, we all want to see these done. So let's, yeah, we're gonna hustle through a few things. A couple of the things, I might just cut a whole bunch of them ahead of time and then cut one as a demo for you guys in class. But that is, yeah, we'll see those on another day. So I will open up a quiz for you guys. There is gonna be a short quiz. Should have gone over everything. It'll be 5 questions, and I'll do that. Drop your names in the chat, please, and let's have a good day. One thing I did want to mention quickly is that a student member in another class has decided maybe he doesn't like the class, whatever, and decided to pass out that link to a bunch of his friends. And we've had them come into the chat and say some pretty, inappropriate stuff with very inappropriate names. One of the students actually used his own name to sign in, which wasn't very smart on his part. So I know who that student is. But yeah, it's not a cool thing. This class seems great. My other construction class seems great. We're all here to learn, it seems. And the thing is, if you don't like the class, that's completely fine. No one's going to like everything. But nothing is also keeping you here. Nothing says you have to be here. So if you maybe don't care for the class too much, you can, distance yourself from the class. You can ask to drop the course from a counselor. We can make that happen. But everyone I have in here seems to be interested in working and doing and completing things. So for that, I want to say thank you guys. If somebody asks, please don't pass out the class link. I just want to keep this for our class. I don't want to have to put up the waiting room like I did before. That just is difficult, especially when I'm doing demonstrations and I can't come click people into the meeting the whole time. So I just want to kind of bring that up. Nothing to do with this class. This class is awesome so far, but I just want to make everyone aware of it. If anybody asks for that link, just no, it's nothing we need to do. We don't have to have it in here. So thank you much, guys. Make sure those names are dropped. I am going to shut off the camera, shut off the mic. I'm going to be here for like 15 minutes. I'll do attendance. I'll release that quiz. You guys that have any questions, ask me, drop them in the chat, whatever you guys need to. And thank you much again. I appreciate it. Have a great day, guys.
Bye, sir. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.